So friends, I am back here again in Gajoldoba as I declared earlier video and Gajoldoba birding part 1 that I will make the part 2 of this video. I am extremely sorry that the gap is quite long due to some unavoidable reason I could not able to visit here in this meantime. So I beg pardon to all of you. However, I am now in water. You can see behind me Thakur is sailing me towards the deep of the wetland. In this video I will mainly cover the wetland and its habitats. Since 2008-9 I am a regular visitor of this wetland, and I noticed that this is a very rich ecosystem, and this is not only a very good place to see winter migrant waterfowls. I can say it is a very good shelter for numerous macrophytes, amphibians, reptiles, fishes, and so on, aquatic plants. However, in this video I will try to cover its entire habitat in detail as much as possible. So stay tuned with me and watch it till the end.
Wetlands are one of the most productive ecosystem and most severely affected habitat next to tropical forest. They are always being neglected in dense populated countries like India. In the last century, over 50% of wetlands in the world have been lost, and remaining wetlands have been degrading to different degrees because of the adverse influence of human activities and developments. Wetlands harbors a large number of threatened birds and other varieties of wildlife to their conservation. At least 20% of threatened birds species inhabits in wetland in the Asiatic region, which is far more than 10% of globally threatened birds. Out of 310 Indian wetland birds, 107 species are winter migrant. Migratory waterfowls are one of the most remarkable components of global biodiversity. Waterbirds are not only the prominent species which attract birders to wetlands, but also are very good bioindicators and useful models to study a wetland's health. As per BirdLife International, the wetlands of Southeast Asia are facing tremendous anthropogenic pressure which can greatly influence the structure of bird community. The loss of waterbirds' habitat through direct or indirect human influences has led to a decline in several waterbird populations. Therefore, it is vital to understand the underlying causes of the decline in populations and to control these trends in order to prevent the loss of key components of the biodiversity of wetlands habitat. Gajoldoba is such a site which is a perennial cut-off meanders by the left side of Tista River of Jalpaiguri district, West Bengal, India. This wetland is well connected with river Tista and was created for the purpose of irrigation. This wetland is managed by the Barrage Authority, Irrigation Department, Government of West Bengal. As the wetland is well connected with river Tista and the river is controlled by the Barrage Authority, so the water level often fluctuate in synchrony with the main river. Due to the vigilance of Barrage Authority and adjacent Vaikuntapur Forest Division, other than fishing and bird watching, no other human activities are permitted in this wetland. As a result, the wetland maintains its structural heterogeneity with diverse wildlife. Ecological research on this wetland found at least 73 species of zooplanktons, which is quite high and a very good sign of healthy wetland. In this wetland, we found not only wildlife, birds, but also lots of submerged and floating aquatic plants like water hyacinths, hogla or typha, whitewater lily, papyrus, whitewater snowflakes, and so on, which are very good shelter of numerous macrophytes, invertebrates, small bush birds, and small grass birds. In this documentation, I will try to cover the entire biodiversity of these wetlands as much as possible. Here you can see local fishermen are collecting shrimps and small fishes which are easily available in this wetland in good quantity. Generally they install fishing nets at night and leave those overnight, and morning again they return back to collect those nets with fishes. You can see here that they are returning early morning to the bank with their overnight catches where fish traders are waiting for them. Varieties of local fishes including shrimps collected by the traders, properly weighted and delivered to the various fish markets of Jalpaiguri and Siliguri. These are their regular practice, especially in winter. I have seen that these local fishermen using this wetland not only for their daily livelihood, but also they try to protect its wildlife and ecosystems equally. And that's why I think this wetland is still healthy. This is an indigenous way to catch a fish here. Local fishermen often place thin nylon ropes, including hooks and baits, live overnight or even more than a day, and catch local fishes like this one. I think probably this one was trapped last night, and still it has not been collected by the fishermen. But I personally against this kind of fishing because several times I have seen small birds like grebes, kingfishers, or even egrets have been trapped in nylon ropes and died. This is black-necked grebe, another rare winter visitor to this wetland. Though it is a rare visitor, but last couple of years I have seen it here regularly. It is an adult bird in its non-breeding plumage. It much looks like the vagrant horned grebe that was sighted last year near Delhi. It breeds in Africa, Eurasia, and USA and some parts of Europe. During migration, it can travel as far as 6,000 kilometers and then become flightless for next 2 months after reaching its desired destination where it can safely molt. While in flight, it can feeds on flying insects, and while on water, it can feeds on algae, small water insects, small fishes, and tadpoles, which you can see here. Generally prefer to spend their winter on large lakes, especially saline lakes, large marshes, estuaries, and coastal lines. This is white-eyed pochard or ferruginous pochard, a regular winter visitor of this wetland. This is a kind of dabbling duck, breeds in Eurasia to Mongolia, and winters throughout the Mediterranean basin and Black Sea. Eastern birds winters in southern and southeastern Asia, including Indian subcontinent. These are gregarious, often mixed with other diving ducks like gadwalls or tufted ducks. They feed mainly on aquatic plants by diving or dabbling, small mollusks or aquatic insects, and some small fishes are their prime food source. This is greater scaup, a rare winter visitor of this wetland. This one is a sub-adult male bird still in molting. It is a mid-sized diving duck which breeds in Alaska, northern Canada, and Siberia. During winter, it can migrate towards Northern America, Europe, Japan, and Southeast Asia, including India. These birds generally wintering in pairs or maybe in single, often seen with groups of tufted ducks. Tufted duck is a mid-sized diving duck with a population of close to 1 million birds in northern Eurasia. Female ducks which have some of white feather formation around their bill base which closely resembles to the scout species. This is the only duck which is at all similar is the drake greater scaup, which however has no tuft and a different call. In winter, we often seen big flocks of tufted ducks here at Gajoldoba every year. Tufted ducks breeds throughout the temperate and northern Eurasia, and in winter they migrate south and west of Europe and obviously in Southeast Asia including Indian subcontinent. They form large flocks in open water in winter. These birds feeds mainly by diving, but it has been noticed that they sometimes feeds on water surface too. Molluscs, crustaceans, aquatic insects, plant materials are their prime food source, which they often feeds at night also. The common teal or Eurasian teal is a common and widespread winter visitor ducks which breeds in temperate Eurasia and migrates south in winter. The Eurasian teal is often called simply the teal due to being the only one of the small dabbling ducks is much of its range. This bird gives its name as teal to its blue-green colors wing pattern. These are highly gregarious ducks. Especially in non-breeding season, it can form very large flocks. It is commonly found in large estuaries and large wetlands, and it feeds on mainly aquatic plant seeds, plant materials, and invertebrates. These majestic looking ducks are red-crested pochards which are a regular winter visitor in this wetland. A rather large diving duck with a rather rounded head and fine-tipped bill. Breeds in southeast and extreme northeast of Afghanistan, Siberia, some also in northwestern Afghanistan too, wintering in northern plains from East Afghanistan to the extent of Assam Valley and Bangladesh also. Locally common on large lakes, lagoons and estuaries. It feeds generally on aquatic plant materials by surface dipping and diving. A sudden change on my plan, as my boatman, you can see him, Thakur, I think you all know him, he is a very knowledgeable guy. He proposed me to show an elusive bird, so I have to visit the river again and let's check it out what I get here today. This is a female smew, a very rare winter visitor in this part of the world, though for last couple of years it is a regular visitor in Gajoldoba Wetland, West Bengal, India. Smew is basically a sea duck, breeds in northern taiga of Europe and some parts of Asia. It breeds on trees. As a winter migrant bird, it sheltered on coasts or large inland lakes of Europe's mainly. A very few number of smews reaching Southeast Asia like This one here in Tista.
There is a group of bar-headed goose on the riverbed. I am trying to get close of those birds. Bar-headed goose are always favorite birds. I love these birds. One of the highest flyer of the avian world. I'll try to get close of it and let's see what we get today. Watch it.
Bar-headed goose is the most commonly found mid-sized goose here in winter. These birds breed in Central Asia, forming large colonies near mountain lakes and prefer to spend their winter in Southeast Asia, including peninsular India. In India, they breed in high-altitude lakes of Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir. The bar-headed goose is one of the world's highest flying bird. It has been reported that it can cross Mount Makalu, the fifth highest peak of the earth, and even Mount Everest during their annual migration. These birds mainly feed on cultivation lands near mudflats or near riverbeds, and their preferred foods crops like paddy, wheat, barley, and plant soups. The dunlin is a small winter migrant wadder, almost a regular visitor of this wetland and river. These are highly gregarious in winter, forming large flocks on coastal mudflats or large riverbeds. Their foods are mainly small molluscs, worms, crustaceans, and small water insects. These birds breed in Arctic or subarctic region and some parts of northern Europe and Asia. They are a long-distance migrant. They prefer to do their wintering south to Africa, Southeast Asia including Indian subcontinent and Middle East.
So friends, it's time to head back to home. Sky is also getting overcast and lighting condition is very poor now. Have a high chance to downpour. In this part of the video I have tried to cover almost all the habitats, not only birds but also aquatic plants, flowers, fishes, whichever is available here to cover. And I have tried to cover also the lifestyles of local fishermen also. Hope you all enjoyed it. So stay tuned with me for my coming wild adventures. Have a good day.